Sully is directed by Clint Eastwood and stars Tom Hanks and Aaron Eckhart and tells the true story of Captain Chelsea Sullenberger, the hero captain who landed a commercial airline on the Hudson River in what came to be known as the Miracle on the Hudson after hitting a flock of birds took out both of his engines taking off from LaGuardia Airport, and he saved the lives of all 155 people on board his plane. I was actually a really big fan of this news story when it came out. I was a really big fan of Captain Sully, and I thought he was a great American hero, and so I was a little hesitant to see that this movie was coming out so soon after the event, but I trusted Clint Eastwood as a director, and I went in very hesitantly, and I came out pleasantly surprised for the most part. The movie definitely has its issues, but it does tell a really good story, and it's a heartwarming, inspiring movie. The performances are really good, but that's really no surprise coming from Tom Hanks. He's one of the greatest actors Hollywood has, and again, he turns in a wonderful performance. Very emotional, very touching, very to the heart, and it's very real and very raw, and I enjoyed his performance a lot. Aaron Eckhart does a great job as kind of the man who's dealing with it all through humor by the side of Tom Hanks, and there's a very real chemistry there, like I imagine two co-workers in that type of environment would have. Clint Eastwood seems to be at a stage in his career, and I'm not going to say this is definitely what's happening, but it seems to be that he's reading these books and then becoming inspired by these people he's reading books about, and he just wants to make movies about them, and that's not a problem. It kind of happened with American Sniper last year. Inspired by a book, he became a big fan of Chris Kyle, made the movie, got nominated for an Oscar. I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but it got nominated for an Oscar, so you can't really argue with that, and it seems like he's done it again with Sully this year. He just was really a big fan of Captain Sullenberger. It says at the end of the movie it was based on a book, and so he's a huge fan of Sully and just wants to make a movie showing how good of a guy he is, and that's great. The movies are entertaining. They're just not Clint Eastwood's best work, and he's become known for a very high quality of film, and some things in this movie were definitely off that didn't make it as high quality as some of his older stuff. My biggest problem with this movie is that it's based on a true story, and it doesn't seem like they knew exactly which parts of the story they wanted to tell. There's lots of flashbacks, flash forwards, kind of dream sequences where he's imagining if he had tried to go back, hitting buildings, which Captain Sullenberger did say that he suffered from PTSD, so that's all very real, but just kind of jumps all over the place, and especially at the end, the movie just stops. I was watching the movie was going along, everything was going great, it gets to this really tense scene, you're watching the movie, I was tense, I was involved, and then credits rolled, and it was over, right as everything resolved and credits rolled and we were out of the theater. And I thought that was very jarring. I could have expected 20, 30 more minutes of this movie at least to keep going and telling the story. I wanted to see Sully going home and meeting his wife and what happened after the investigation into the plane. I wanted to see more. It left me wanting more, which is sometimes a good problem to have, but it just felt like I wanted more because they stopped too early instead of just making a good enough movie that I wanted more. Clint Eastwood is a really good director though, and there's two scenes in this movie that definitely deliver. The first scene that I can think of that comes to mind is the entire sequence of the actual plane crashing on the river and the people being rescued. That entire sequence totally delivers on what you would expect from this movie. It runs long enough, it gives it plenty of time, and it's a good hunk of the emotional tension of the movie is watching the actual event in flashback of the plane crashing on the river and the people being rescued. That scene delivers in every way, and it is very tense, it's very emotional, you're very involved, and it's very well shot. I think that scene totally delivered. And there's another scene where they're in a hearing being investigated by the insurance company, and they're showing human simulations of the flight, and that scene was also very well done. It shows that Clint Eastwood is a great director, and I feel like those scenes really delivered and were a lot of fun and made it worth watching, but I feel like the rest of the movie around it and the structure of the script didn't help those scenes really elevate the entire movie up. Just those scenes stood out as gems in the rough that was the rest of the movie. And those scenes were good, and it was a good movie. I had fun. It was just a little slow starting, and it cut off very abruptly. I'm usually of the argument that more movies need to be cut down and shave time off their run times, but this movie I would have liked to see 20, 30 more minutes of it because it felt like it was still in the first act, and then all of a sudden it was over. It felt way too short. So if the movie hadn't cut off so abruptly, if it hadn't started so slow, I'd probably be able to get it higher, but I do think that the good scenes are worth watching, and especially if you're a fan of this story in real life, if you've liked the story of Captain Sully, then it's worth seeing the Hollywood version of what the crash is like, and I'll definitely say this movie's worth renting. As always, guys, thanks for watching the review. If you've seen Sully, I definitely want to hear what your opinion is in the comments below, because that was just my opinion, for what it's worth.